Welcome to the Sound Bearier, Northeast State's official podcast. This is your host, April Allen, along with your co-host, Tom Wilson, coming to you today from the Entertainment Technology Studio at the Bluntville campus. Today, we're pleased to welcome Northeast State student SarahGrace Triplett and Northeast State alumna Jillian Cox to the show. SarahGrace and Jillian are working in Northeast State's upcoming production of Alice in Wonderland. SarahGrace and Jillian, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to hear about your shows coming up, previous shows, and just a little bit about yourself. So why don't we start off with you two introducing yourself? So whoever wants to go first.
I'm SarahGrace Triplett, and I'm really excited to be here. I really, really like theater. I came here as a general studies student at first, and I honestly, I will take the crow and eat it because I really didn't have the best attitude about coming to Northeast State, and now I'm probably one of the biggest Northeast State advocates ever. I've had the best experience here. It's been fantastic, and I've loved every second of it, and the friends that I've made, the experiences that I've had, the things that I've learned, the professors that I've had. It's been fantastic, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Awesome. Thank you. Jillian?
I'm Jillian Cox. I have kind of a similar story to SarahGrace, actually, but I didn't want to come to college at all. I really had no interest in pursuing higher education, but I also didn't want to just do nothing. And so it was just kind of a natural next step. I went to high school at Sullivan South High School, and Northeast State was just kind of like the next stepping stone for me as someone who didn't know what they wanted to do. It was free. So, and now, like SarahGrace, I'm just the biggest advocate for Northeast State. I didn't declare myself a theater major until my second year. Everything since then has just been this really affirming kind of thing. I just love all my professors have been amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. You both found your passion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Great.
So you both came not necessarily as theater majors, but when you took that first theater class, did that kind of pique your interest, or when did you kind of get hooked on the whole process of theater?
Well, I did do Barter Youth Academy in high school once, and then I was in the fundraiser for Niswonger's Children's Hospital. It's called Broadway Comes to Greenville. I was in that, and those were the only two theater experiences that I'd had before coming here. And then, yes, my first semester here, I did take an intro to theater class with Elizabeth Sloan, and she is precious, and I love her. And it did absolutely pique my interest, but I still hadn't, that was online, and so I still hadn't had the theater experience here until my second semester, which is when we did Wiley and the Hairy Man in the spring, and I played the dog in that one, which, is... I wasn't a theater major, so I was so happy to get that role. Mm-hmm. And then I also took Brad McKenzie's Intro to Light and Sound class, and I would not be a theater major if it wasn't for that class and that professor. He was so engaging, and he just makes you believe that you can do it, even if you've never done anything like that before. I know how to hang theater lights and program them now, which is insane. And so he is just very encouraging, and that is where I found my passion. And yes, I after that class, after that semester, I did change my major to theater.
I had some theater experience in high school. I did our musicals and theater classes and did plays. And I had a love for theater before I came to Northeast State, but I had kind of dismissed that as a possibility for me to pursue at all. Just thought that it was completely unrealistic. And then I took intro my first semester, and I didn't change my major after that from general studies, but it did make me feel like it was something that was possible. And I finally ended up, just through my experience here, feeling like, okay, this is something that I can do. And that I also took that Intro to Light and Sound with Brad McKenzie with SarahGrace. And I think that for both of us, that was a really big turning point in our attitudes toward theater, because I was already a theater major at that point, but it just opened the door to all these other kind of possibilities and passions for me. So that class did change a lot.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize how many jobs are in theater.
Yeah.
And that class educated us more in regards to, if you are a theater major, that doesn't mean you have to be on stage. You could program the lights or hang them or design something or be a stage manager. It just was very eye-opening to see how many other things you could do in theater practically if acting isn't your favorite thing.
Awesome. Yeah, honestly, I never really thought about it, all the different aspects and everything. So shout out to Brad McKenzie for doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So the new Northeast State theater show is Alice in Wonderland. Mm-hmm. So what are your roles in this production?
I play Alice, and I am also the lighting designer for the production.
So how do you do both?
It's difficult.
So
Something that I have found, actually, it is difficult because it is time consuming. There are a lot of responsibilities, but it's also been kind of helpful in a sense that, for example, one aspect of my lighting design that I'm trying to incorporate is, we're in Alice's imagination. That's what Wonderland is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to base a lot of the lighting on Alice's mood as we're going throughout Wonderland. And so nobody knows Alice's mood better than I do because I am Alice. So I don't have to communicate with the actor and be like, okay, well, what do you think? How are you feeling? This, whatever. Because I can look for that inside myself. So it is challenging. It is time consuming. But it's also, it has benefits, I think.
It sounds like it works together.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
cool. SarahGrace?
I play the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. I'm also the puppet designer for the show.
Fun.
So the first meeting, I actually wasn't originally on the design team, but the first video that our director put on Dropbox giving information and insight to what his ideas were for the play, he had mentioned wanting some of the characters to be puppets, considering there are so many moving animals and things, and we're people. So when I heard that the play would be Alice in Wonderland, I was really excited about the design aspect of it, and we didn't have a puppet designer, and so I texted Brad McKenzie, and I said, can I please design puppets? Have I ever done that before? No. But I am very, very excited to just kind of learn as we go. And it is educational theater, so I am excited to make the mistakes and learn. And then at the end of it, I'm going to know how to make puppets.
Awesome.
And you're going to be able to see the puppets on stage, which is as well as myself. So that's something that I'm very excited about. Some of the puppets that are going to be on stage are going to be the Cheshire Cat. It's going to be a couple of puppets. And
He
then
always creeped me out. Sorry.
He did. Hopefully he won't too bad this time. Bring your kids. So I'm very excited about that aspect of it and just doing those both together and learning as we go. So
Oh, well, good for you, creating your own role there. Nice.
Now, had you read the book? I mean, obviously, some have, some might. It's a classic out there. But have you read the book? Did either of you read the book?
I had read the book when I was younger. I was a real reader, and I got a Kindle for Christmas one year, a Kindle Fire, when they were really big, and I downloaded everything that was free as often as I could because my parents they got me a Kindle so they could stop spending so much money on books. But as you know, books cost money on the Kindle too. But there are some free ones, and Alice in Wonderland was a free one. And so I have read the book. It's been a long time, but I do remember just feeling, because it's very interesting. It's very trippy. And I remember reading it, and I was probably not really old enough to be reading some of this stuff.
right.
Yes.
I was like a 9-10-year-old kid, like going through there and just kind of like, this is really weird. But it was entertaining. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I had to read it in middle school as a reading requirement. And so that's the only thing that I do remember about it is being like, this is kind of strange. We're taking a more of a storybook sort of approach to it rather than the kind of weird, kind of trippy vibe. We're taking more of an approach of Alice's imagination and the things that she knows and things that she's seen, and then her imagination just expanding on those things. So that's more of the turn that we took rather than the initial kind of creepy Cheshire cat kind of weird worm with the mushroom. Then the caterpillar's not in this play, so
he was a bit strange.
He was. Yes. He was.
Yeah. So, changing directions a little bit, what were theater classes like during lockdown?
So, I took my very first semester as a theater major was the fall of 2020. So, when everything was really fully online. And I was in Acting 1, which was on Zoom. So, I remember everybody being like, how are you going to do acting on Zoom? Which it was challenging, especially because I believe that usually in that class, that Elizabeth Sloan was our professor, and I believe usually there's more scene work than monologue work, which was, we kind of tried to do that a couple times, but it's very difficult to do a scene with someone over Zoom. So we did a lot of monologues. We would record ourselves and upload it for our classmates to give feedback and for Elizabeth to give feedback. And I want to applaud her because I'm sure that is not an easy thing, and she was very good about uploading videos of herself and not just, typing discussion responses, but giving really meaningful feedback. And I really feel like I learned so much in that class. Most of the rest of my theater classes, I think, were at least semi-in-person. But the Acting 1 class definitely was a challenge, but not something that we couldn't get around, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She still made the most of it and was
Absolutely.
still personable.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
that was very needed during that time.
Absolutely.
Yes, it was.
Shout out to Elizabeth Sloan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm about to give her another one. So I graduated in 2020 from high school. And thankfully, when I started getting into theater here, as I mentioned, they were starting to try and still make in-person experiences with the masks and everything and just accommodate regulations. And we were trying to work that out as I was getting into it. So I'm thankful for that. But however, my first semester here, I did have that intro to theater class online, and which was with Elizabeth Sloan. And I'm sure it would have been easier to just type discussion posts, but every week on Wednesdays, she posted a video just checking in. It's called like a check-in video or something, just so we could see her face and know that she was a real person who cared about us and was making sure that we're good. And if we needed any help, we could ask her. And that she wasn't just some like robot behind a screen. So she put tremendous effort into being personable and being a resource. And I think that was very intriguing as a new student at Northeast State to know that there were professors like that in the theater department who were doing their best to make it the best experience for people who might be discouraged by the lockdown. So I really, really appreciated that.
And that is something Elizabeth has always been good at, is showing her students she cares.
Yes, absolutely.
And going that extra mile just proves even more that she cares.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome that y'all got to experience that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of covers the question I had about how the professors kept the material fresh in that kind of format video. But you you really answered that question with that. The next thing I was wondering about was, you'd been on stage, SarahGrace, you'd been with the Barter Company, and then you'd also done musical. Jillian, you'd done musicals in high school. Was it frustrating to be taking theater classes and yet be unable to get on stage? Because obviously it's live theater, but like fall, spring, until I guess last fall semester, you'd not been able to get on stage. What was kind of that feeling?
In a sense, it was frustrating. Because I started at Northeast State in the fall of 2019. So I did have this fully in-person semester, but I was not involved in the theater department at that time. So I went and I saw Dark Rituals, and I got to see that, but I wasn't involved in it at all. So once I did get involved, it was, all online. So it was frustrating, but it was also really cool to see the way that we were able to adapt to our circumstances with our radio production of Dracula and with Wily and the Hairy Man. The way that we were able to still find creative ways to get around that. And honestly, when I played Mina in Dracula, that was my first production at Northeast State. And when I came into acting, I had no interest in doing anything other than live stage acting. And once we did that, I've now, I am really interested in voice acting or doing something with film because of that experience. So it was frustrating to not be able to be on stage, but it was also really cool to find new passions that I never would have explored if we hadn't been stuck in this situation.
I'll start out with it being discouraging at first. I think Stella Adler did say that once you've been on stage, it's just not the same being in the audience. Yes, it was kind of discouraging that we couldn't put the stage acting into our performances. However, I appreciate so much the effort that the theater department put in still making a way for us to put our art out and something to work towards while we're working through this discouraging time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's really, again, a lot of effort in the theater department's corner to try and think of new and fun ways to still incorporate our passions when, some might even say that we couldn't and just kind of shut it down and wait. But I really appreciate the effort put into finding a way around it and still being safe and still being cautious. So that was something that I really appreciate.
Innovation really came into play.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you both have received Irene Ryan Acting Award nominations for your work in the show Wily and the Hairy Man, which is awesome. Good job.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. But since it was a show driven by puppetry, video, and sound, how did you prepare for those roles since you weren't doing them on stage?
We did it kind of the same way at first that they did Dracula. We used the sound booths that were made for Dracula where they recorded again for Wily and the Hairy Man, and we pre-recorded. We had several rehearsals where we practiced how we would say things and just our tone and training our voices for the task. And then once we were ready, we put ourselves in the COVID-safe recording booths and recorded our voices ahead of time. And then we got onto the puppet stage and matched the movements with the voices we had already recorded. Okay. So,
was that challenging? That sounds challenging.
It was.
It was
absolutely. and that's something else that Jillian mentioned is that we have learned so much that we wouldn't have even been initially interested in. Puppetry, I'm doing puppets now.
Your face lights up every time you say puppets.
That's crazy. Would I have ever thought about that before? I would have never thought about that before. And Brad did communicate with the Dracula students who participated in that the semester before and said, what did you like? What would you change? And so I think the students who were in Dracula all said that they really had fun, but they wanted to kind of see something because when you were listening, you didn't really know where to look or, you just kind of like had to close your eyes and imagine. And so they had said that they wanted to have some visuals. And Brad McKenzie did do the Imagination Library for Dolly Parton, something about that. And that's where he had the idea to do puppets because there was like a puppetry theater, paper theater aspect to that. And that's where he got the idea. And so our set designer, Richard Curtis, got to work on the 8-foot by 8-foot set, and the actors went underneath the set and did the puppets from below and stuck them above.
Oh, wow.
For the whole set. And so we wore masks underneath there, but it was a tight space, and our arms got tired, and we shot and reshot, and there was a whole first scene that we had to redo because of the camera. And that's another thing Brad McKenzie is a theater director. He's not a video editor. And so he was learning with us, and he did an amazing job. And even the Kennedy Center folks who reviewed the play said that they couldn't tell that it was our first time doing that. So,
Awesome.
So we had a lot of fun. There were a lot of new challenges and a lot of new things that we learned that we love that we never would have known. So
Yeah,
There you
absolutely.
go. Blessing in disguise.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
Right?
Now, Sarah Grace, you portrayed Eleanor in The Haunting of Hill House, that was the fall 2021 production. Now, that was the first live theater show we'd had since Dark Rituals, in almost 2 years, I guess, going back to, Dark Rituals was 2 years ago. Now, were you nervous at all to be back on stage, since that was kind of the return to the stage, or what were kind of the emotions that opening night?
So, wow. It was the first play at Northeast State since Dark Rituals, yes, but for me, it was the first live performance since 2018.
Oh, wow.
So there were a lot of nerves and a lot of people around me who do this all the time. And so I had to shut out the thoughts that maybe somebody who does it all the time should be doing this. And I had people around me who were very, very encouraging and reassured me that I could do it. And I needed that. I really did, because it was a large task, not only for having been on stage live for the first time since 2018, but also the longest play with the most amount of lines that I have ever had to learn or memorize. With that, and being around a lot of people who do it all the time, I had to tell myself that I could do it, and I was put here for a reason, and just constant reassurance to myself and for a lot of people like Jillian and Brad and a lot of other cast members that I have met during that production and now am best friends with, who are very encouraging, and definitely the best theater experience that I have already had and probably will for a while, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was so much fun.
Awesome. Awesome.
Good for you. You did it anyway. Good for you. You did it scared.
I did it scared, and there was a lot of screaming.
Well, that just worked out, didn't it?
It did.
You could let that out.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Jillian, during the Haunting of the Hill House production, you were stage manager.
Yes.
What does a stage manager do in a production? And was that your first time in that particular role?
So a stage management is a very big job. It's a lot of responsibility. A stage manager is basically the director's right-hand man. You are in charge of communicating everything with the cast and the crew. You're kind of the go-between between the director and the cast and crew. You have to make sure everybody's there on time. You're really responsible for everybody. No pressure. I ran our production meetings. I ran our warm-ups before rehearsal, and then during all of our rehearsals and production meetings, I take notes and do reports. During the show, during the actual run of the show, and during tech, the stage manager is up in the booth on headset with the assistant stage manager, who is backstage cueing people, and whoever is running lights and running sound, and you're calling the cues for the show. So you really have to know where everybody is and what everybody is doing all the time. So you know exactly when to call the cues, and if something goes wrong, what to do. So it's very, during shows, it's very fly by the seat of your pants. If something goes wrong, you got to adapt really quickly, and figure out the next move, which was, it was my first time doing it. This was my first time. This was my first live show in college, obviously. And so not only had I not done stage management before, but stage management for our radio production and for our puppet show, Wiley and the Hairy Man, was not the same as a live show. So I had never really even seen a stage manager fully in action before. So it was very much a learning experience. And I am I am not someone who's known for being adaptable necessarily. I'm not necessarily known for being a quick problem solver. So this was a very I'm very organized, so that aspect of scheduling everything and keeping up with everyone was not a challenge. But the biggest challenge for me was calling the shows and being able to solve issues quickly. But I learned, and I think it went okay.
Yeah, I will applaud her because there was one scene that the only time that I got entirely, completely correct was during dress rehearsal one time.
Oh, wow.
And not only that, but there was a lot of light cues that went with what I said. And I never got it wrong in the same spots. It was always something different that I got wrong. And every single time you could not tell because of the cues that she called, and she adapted so quickly.
Oh,
so
awesome. See, you did it and didn't know you could.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And just to follow up on that, Jillian, something we were talking about before, kind of off mic, you participated in something called the Next Steps program. And that has led to a pretty big deal, as they say in the business, for you here recently. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, there is a program that you can participate in called Next Steps, where you will submit, you can do it as an actor or a designer. I chose to participate mainly as an actor. So you submit either a design portfolio or a monologue audition and a resume, and you fill out some information about yourself. And then colleges from across our region can look at that and, schedule callbacks or interviews. So I participated in that because I graduated from Northeast State in the spring of 2021. And some of my college plans kind of fell through, and I ended up having to stay. And I wasn't really sure where I was going to go next. So the Next Steps program was a really good opportunity for me. So I submitted my audition, and I heard back from some colleges, and then I got an email from the Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York City, which was very exciting.
Oh,
Yeah.
And very surprising. And they had...
not surprising.
They had expressed that they would like to schedule a callback audition. And most of these other colleges had... their callback was an interview, like a conversation about the college that you could schedule on your time. Stella Adler was like, this is when the callback is, tell us if you're coming or not, and prepare this monologue.
Oh, wow.
So I did that. Normally, I feel like this is something that I would be like, wow, that's cool, but I am terrified, and I'm not going to do that because that's so frightening. But
Thanks.
Yes. I'll just tell everybody that I got the callback, and I don't need to do it. But something that both Elizabeth and Brad have really instilled in me is this run towards fear attitude. Mm-hmm. And so I kept that in mind, and I scheduled my callback over Zoom. It was with a very nice man named Ryan, and three people, I believe, got callbacks. And so I went in, the other two people left. I did my audition, and I had an interview conversation. And at the end of it, he said that he would like to invite me to the final round of callbacks in New York. Wow. So I decided I had made it that far, so I might as well keep going.
Yes.
I had the option to submit a video audition instead of going in person, which of course I would rather go in person, but with our play schedule, I didn't really have time. So I submitted my video audition a few weeks ago, and then I had to wait a couple weeks for them to have their in-person auditions. I had to film another monologue and do this little a personal statement about myself. And then this past week, I was waiting on an email response. I was told every candidate would receive a decision at some point. And I got a phone call, and normally if I get a phone call from an unknown number, I'm not answering that.
Same.
So I looked at it, dismissed it, and then I saw that it was from New York City. And I was like, everybody shut up. This is important. So luckily I was with all my theater friends, so that was a really special moment because I answered the phone and I put it on speaker.
Oh,
and
cool.
He told me that I had been accepted into their professional conservatory program.
That's awesome.
So now I have the opportunity, and there are other colleges that I have, toured and expressed interest in. But I now have this opportunity to go to this professional conservatory for acting in New York, which is just an amazing opportunity and something that I never would have gotten that opportunity had I not had the foundation that I have from Northeast State, and had I not stayed here and worked with Northeast State through all of the what I felt like were mishaps at the time and difficult circumstances, but really led me to this point. So Absolutely. I'm very thankful for that.
Amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Sure, was very proud of you. Yeah, that's really incredible. It's a great testament to you and everything your talent and everything.
Oh my goodness.
And in spite of all the adversity that you faced.
Right.
I mean, look at you, girl.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been interesting. That's for sure.
So you started off general studies, and you're going to end up in New York in theater.
Right.
Wow. You never know where life's going to take you.
Never know.
But it's taking you there because you're taking those chances.
Yes. Right.
So good for you.
Thank you so much.
Run to fear. Run
towards fear.
Boss up and change your life.
Yeah.
That's our motto.
I like that. Say that again.
Boss up and change your life.
Boss up and change your life.
It's a Lizzo song. Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Run to fear, y'all.
Yes.
It will change your life.
Yes.
It will.
I mean,
Absolutely.
These two girls are perfect examples of that. So speaking of impressive things, SarahGrace, not only are you an actor, but you're writing a novel. So tell us about it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a storyteller in every sense of the word, whether it's on stage or writing. Actually, it was writing first, and then after my theater experience, I'm thinking, well, maybe I could write plays, and I am right now.
Awesome.
It's something that I try to do every day. It's a passion of mine. It's something that I have a lot of stories in me, and I just wanna tell people what's in my heart and brain. So yes, the novel is a British detective mystery, a British murder mystery.
I'm interested already.
Agatha Christie is one of my biggest people that I look up to. Agatha Christie, I have so many books of hers. It's just, I'm also a big England person, and I'm trying to get with study abroad so I can go. One of my biggest life goals is to go to England, and so a lot of my fiction stories are based in England. It's about a detective named Sebastian and his detective sergeant, Hercules Alloway. And
nice name.
Thank you. And they have some trouble because there's just a lot of things that get thrown at them and that are seemingly impossible to solve. There's a mysterious weapon that the medical examiner can't really identify what it is, and they're like, well, great, now we have to find this weapon that we don't know what it is. And it's a complete story. It's not edited though, so I'm hoping to get an editor and have it published, because it is a complete novel length. So
Wow.
I'm hoping to do something with that, but right now it's in a vault.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Good for you. Now, is this your first novel?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you written like short stories or anything like that?
That's the thing. I get kind of hung up on character arcs and character development, and I'm not really sure how to write a short story because I want to see growth in the characters as the story moves along. And I've tried. It's just not something that comes easy to me. Yeah.
Awesome. So you should submit your work to Echoes and Images.
I actually have. I did my first semester here, and I don't think any results, but I did submit a poem this semester, this past semester. So we'll see. It was just kind of one of those things. I mean, I have it on my computer, so I submitted it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, good for you for trying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, and this question's for both of you. When do you kind of see a play, either a play you're in or you see a play and you see it really going well, when it really rises to a level of being a great piece of art, of really being able to communicate well to the audience and everything is kind of hitting on all cylinders?
I think that what makes a piece of art great is honesty. Mm-hmm. I think that, when the actors and the designers and the production team are bringing that sense of honesty and vulnerability to the art, I think that's when you really see it rise. When you're watching a play and you feel like, I feel seen, like I relate to that character. Or if not relating to that character, you at least have a sense of empathy for them. I think that empathy is the biggest tool of a theater artist, is the ability to relate to other people and to have compassion for them. And that's, I think, when you really see theater rising to its best, is when you see people who are honest, who have empathy, and who are willing to put that out there and not be afraid of looking stupid.
Wow. Yeah, see, that would be me. I would be like, there's no way I could express myself like this because I would feel stupid. So that's amazing that, I mean, you said it perfectly, that you just have to put yourself out there and, you know, run towards fear.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, there's something another one of my favorite authors says about storytelling, and that's like what Jillian said. He says, tell the truth. And automatically people are going to relate to that and resonate with that. And there's something kismet about theater, I think, when you're doing it with these people who also love it and doing it for these people who will enjoy it. I'm about to start crying. Holy cow.
I know, I'm emotional.
That's okay.
You work with these people, and I think when you start to see a production come together, for me, it's when, you know, you're thrown into a cast of maybe random people. Thankfully, Alice in Wonderland this semester, it's full of people who auditioned last semester just because, hey, it's something fun to do, and they found the passion for it that, like we said before, it wasn't there before, and then they learned. And last semester, it was just a bunch of, you know, kind of new people that we didn't know each other, and now this semester it's all the same people again, and we're friends, and we've worked together before. We know how to work with each other. We have the same passion for it and same respect for each other and for the craft as everybody else, and I just think there's something so beautiful about that. And when you start getting to know these people and working with them every day at rehearsals, sometimes not even the best days, you know, you're trying to get through it. It can be grueling. And, you know, I think when it starts to come together is when I'm friends with these people and you're working with each other and you're doing it together, and you start to realize that you're doing it together, even though 6 weeks ago you didn't know their name or who they were or that they existed. And it's working with each other every day. It's being so vulnerable with each other every day and just expressing yourself so vulnerably every day, and then realizing that you're working with these people with the same respect for it as you, and getting to know them and getting to work with them and getting to be friends with them and having those intimate relationships. That's when it comes together for me.
That's awesome.
So
teamwork.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. So you may have already touched on this a little bit in your previous responses, but what does live theater seek to give audiences? Like, what is the main goal?
I think there's something very magical about live theater, and I think that nobody appreciates live theater more than all the theater people who had to do everything through COVID. And you know, as I said, there's opportunities and interests and passions that I found through, you know, those radio plays and those things that I never would have discovered before. But once we got back on stage, I think everybody felt that sense of like, you can see in real time that you are serving the audience. You can see in real time that you are serving the script and the playwright and the story that you're telling, because you can record your voice and I love doing that, and it's really fun, and you can find a lot of things in that. But when you are being somebody else and you are doing it in front of all these people who want to be told a story, who came there because they enjoy that and they are watching you, there's something, I think, very magical about that, as SarahGrace mentioned, the relationship that you're having between yourself and the audience. There is just something very, very special about live theater, and getting to do that in front of people in real time.
Yes, absolutely. In Elizabeth's intro class, I think one of the first lessons she teaches is, what is theater for? And it's like, what is the purpose of theater, I think is how she phrased it. And it's to connect. and it's to bring together and and like Jillian said, and it's something that I hadn't even thought about until she just said it, it's you forget the audience is there when you're acting. It's dark out there, you're doing your thing that you've rehearsed for months and months, and you're acting, and you've worked so hard and you've sweated and you've cried and all of this, and then you say something or do something, and then you hear a chuckle or you hear oh no or something, and you just hear that live, and you're like, I'm making them feel something, it's such
That's
a good
awesome.
feeling.
That's all. You're connecting.
Yes,
You're
connecting. Absolutely.
Theater is unity. It's very much, and I've said this before, but it's you're bringing awareness to unique stories and what differences that you have, but you are also bringing attention to all the ways that we are so similar and the ways that we relate to each other as human beings. And that's just something that you don't quite get in a movie or in a radio something, is when you are together and you're feeling that together.
And mistakes happen too.
Yeah.
Live on stage, always, it's never going to be perfect. No matter how many times you rehearse it, and you find a way around that. And a lot of the times you tell one of your friends and they're like, oh, really? But at the same time, you're like, oh, no. But there are hopefully a lot of things that go well. And I just think it's the making people feel things for me that just, and hearing it live, like Jillian said, that just makes theater different from every other art form.
That's awesome.
As a major also, you work all you take classes and you work all semester and you lead up to this production. And I can maybe you can answer this a bit. This is sort of a question. It's one of the few, if not only, majors I know where people will pay money to come see your final exam. What's that? What is that feeling like? Hey, people care enough to see what I've worked on all semester.
That's really special to me, and that's something that. You're right. No other major, does that. And I've told my friends before, when I came to Northeast State, I did not make friends easily, and I was very closed off. And I feel like if you were, an English major or a biology major, that's what makes it different from those, is because it's so much more vulnerable and so much more. There's so much more opportunity for, vulnerability and getting to know people and working with people rather than going to class and taking your exams and writing notes and everything. I just feel like there's more opportunity for interaction between individuals that creates those relationships. And I think that's such a blessing to me, because it wasn't easy for me at first, and now it is. So
I think it's also very validating when that happens, because as theater majors, really more than any other major, you are constantly being told, someone asks you what's your major, and you say I'm a theater major, and they say, oh, so what are you going to do with that? More than any, I think people don't really take that seriously, but at the end of the day, who are you again coming to pay to see my final exam?
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
So you're already making money. Well, not making money, but
right.
At least making money for other people.
Yeah.
As of right now.
Right. Well, ladies, it has been so much fun. You have made this so easy, and it has been an enjoyable episode, and we've had a lot of fun. I like to end the episode with random questions.
Okay.
So the random question is, if you were a type of chocolate, what type of chocolate would you be and why?
Okay.
Jeez.
Let me think.
So you got white chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, chocolate with caramel, chocolate with nuts.
Yeah. I can't stop thinking about SpongeBob.
All the above.
That one SpongeBob episode.
Chocolate. I think I would be milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
I think I'd be milk chocolate because I just love dairy. I love cheese.
I love cheese too.
I can't stop, and I I can't think of any personality reason why I just resonate with milk chocolate.
Because it's the Swedish
She's
one.
dependable.
Aww.
Yeah. You're so
That was
sweet.
sweet.
Yeah, you're so sweet. It's dependable. You're gonna like milk chocolate.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I think I would be, those little Ghirardelli squares with the raspberry in the middle that come out on Valentine's Day. I would be the Ghirardelli milk chocolate with raspberry in the middle. That's me, because the chocolate is sweet and then it's like tart in the middle and it's red and
a surprise in the middle.
it's a surprise and I have red hair and it's like raspberries.
I love it.
Oh my goodness.
Well, now, Alice in Wonderland opens April 14th.
Yes.
WRCPA Theater here on the Bluntful campus. We have 3 evening performances and 1 matinee, is that right?
Yes. We have performances Thursday through Saturday. We'll have an evening performance Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we'll also have our matinee show.
Mm-hmm.
And for tickets, northeaststate.edu/theater or /box office,
Yes.
correct? Excellent. Well, Jillian, SarahGrace, thank you both so much for appearing on the Sound Bearier. Really enjoyed this episode and know Alice in Wonderland is going to be a stellar effort like always. Thank you again
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for having us.
Did y'all rehearse that?
Unrehearsed in stereo.
We do that all the time.
It's always the same tone of voice, too.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Again, thanks again. And
Thank you.
folks, we come to the end of another episode of The Sound Bearier. If you like this episode, go subscribe, hit the like button. We're on all your favorite streaming services, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or you can just go to thesoundbearier.net. That's thesoundbearier.net. Click and subscribe. That's our website. Also, if you like Northeast State, and you should, go to northeaststate.edu. northeaststate.edu for Northeast State Community College. Summer and fall class registration starts March 28th. We'd love to see you out here, majoring in theater, entertainment technology, or a host of other majors that we know you'd enjoy and love and move you forward in anything you want to do. You're all welcome. This is The Sound Bearier. We'll see you next time.